No one guessed. Not one. But that night, amid the cheers of tens of thousands of spectators who packed BTS's Jin concert arena in Newark, the main screen displayed something that made thousands of pairs of eyes widen. The figure of a tall man with a characteristic smile and a black leather jacket was caught on camera in the crowd, and in an instant, the atmosphere changed completely. Chris Martin, the vocalist of Coldplay, was allegedly present in person at the concert. The question is this a meeting that has been secretly orchestrated by management? Or was it a surprising coincidence that formed an iconic moment in the history of Jin's solo concerts? For the first few seconds, doubts enveloped the arena. Some viewers thought it was just an ordinary viewer with a similar appearance. But when the giant screen highlighted the face more clearly, the look, the expression, to the gestures so familiar to Coldplay fans, there were shouts in unison, "That's Chris Martin." There followed a wave of emotional reactions from the audience, who could not hide their surprise. Jin himself seemed at a loss for words. As the next song almost begins, the cameraman seems to deliberately highlight the same direction. Jin looked at the screen, paused, and laughed while holding the microphone with an expression as if to say, "Is this real?" Without needing to be further confirmed, Jin's reaction suggests that Chris Martin's presence that night was not part of the scheduled concert scenario. It is interesting to note, this moment was not previously promoted by HYB or Coldplay management.
No teaser, no announcement.
But it is precisely in the unpredictability that the value of this news peaks. Social media immediately exploded with speculation. Is this the beginning of Jin and Chris Martin's stage collaboration? Is Jin preparing a secret project with Coldplay that will be announced in the near future? It should be noted, Jin and Chris Martin's relationship has long attracted public attention since the two collaborated on the song, The Astronaut, in 2022. The collaboration marks the meeting of two musicians from different worlds who come together in a moment full of emotion and meaning. But Chris' personal presence at Jin's concert, and not just through a screen or video link, indicates a much deeper, more personal connection. One thing of note is how this moment happened in Newark, not in a big city like New York or Los Angeles. Is there any special meaning behind this choice of location? Was Newark chosen as a more intimate city for this important meeting of two global icons for the ARMY who attended in person? This incident was certainly an unforgettable experience. Not only did they get to witness Jin's emotional and mature solo performance, but they also witnessed a rare event that could be the subject of global talk for days. Some fans even called this moment a new dimension in the relationship between BTS and Coldplay. But what we need to reflect is all this real, or is it part of an increasingly complicated visual promotion strategy in today's world of digital entertainment? Was Chris Martin actually physically present on set, or was it only shown through certain footage or imaging techniques? We live in an era where the line between reality and illusion is getting thinner and thinner. So it is natural for the public to question the authenticity of this event. What's more, in several replays spread across social media, there is no footage that actually shows Chris Martin standing or interacting directly with the audience or the genie on stage. There are only visual pieces on the main screen and Jin's emotional reactions that seem to support the narrative. Is this enough to confirm its correctness? Or does it open up a deeper discussion about how media and agencies play with audience perception? We urge the audience not to immediately believe the narrative that is developing massively on social media. So far, there has been no official confirmation from Jin or Chris Martin regarding the presence. Even the official accounts of Coldplay and BTS have not given any response to it. Is important to note that the information we convey comes from various social media such as TikTok, X, Twitter, Instagram, to footage from fan YouTube channels that record live concerts. Its validity still needs to be verified in depth. Therefore, our readers and viewers are encouraged to be critical of every narrative that arises. Is it true that this is the beginning of a big project between Jin and Chris Martin? Or are we witnessing a narrative systematically constructed to draw global attention to the Jin's concerts in America? That question cannot be answered in a hurry. But one thing is certain. BTS's Jin concert in Newark that night has created an incredible moment that shook not only ARMY, but also the international music scene. For those of you who haven't seen these shocking moments firsthand, be sure to keep following our channel and actively commenting. Don't forget to subscribe so as not to miss the latest developments from BTS's Jin tour and a possible secret collaboration with Chris Martin that remains a mystery to this day. But as the euphoria subsided and the stage lights calmed down, a profound question arose. Was Chris Martin's presence at BTS's Jin concert in Newark really physical? Or was it just a visual illusion carefully orchestrated to shake up the global media? In the midst of a sea of speculation and public opinion, we are faced with a much more complex dilemma than the mere appearance of an international artist on concert screens. What exactly did the audience see that night? Was it the real Chris Martin, a physically present figure in the arena, or was it just a piece of a visual montage that played with a specific purpose? The fact that there is no clear documentation showing any direct interaction between Chris Martin and Jin on stage raises serious doubts. Even when the camera panned towards the screen, no capture from the mainstream media was able to independently verify its presence. Doesn't this raise suspicions that the moment may have been constructed? In the era of extreme digitization as it is today, visuals can be manipulated very finely, even almost perfectly. So the next question we must ask together: are we as a spectator, as an army, as a global society, too easily believe just because what we see looks real? Or are we victims of a media mechanism that works systematically to manipulate attention? We should ask, who really benefits from this phenomenon? Is this part of HYB's grand strategy to elevate Jin's concert news value? Or is Coldplay preparing to do a secret promotional maneuver with BTS, starting from the subtle visual symbols, such as a cursory appearance on the concert screen? Or furthermore, could this be a social experiment about how far the public can be led by visual narratives? It is important that we do not stop only at surprise and amazement, but begin to delve into the motives behind every great performance. We must analyze the possibility that this is part of a highly planned and executed marketing scenario on a global scale. If so, is it wrong? Not always. But the public still has the right to know to what extent the narrative is rooted in reality or is only a representation of the curated reality. It is time for the audience to reflect. Did you actually see Chris Martin that night, or just believe it because the cameras showed it? If it is true that he is present, why is it that none of the major international media has reported or verified it directly? Why did neither Coldplay nor Genie's official account release a single upload that reinforces this narrative? Don't forget that the viral phenomenon that forms after that moment cannot be separated from the role of social media algorithms that work aggressively to lift content that contains surprises, speculation, and controversy. TikTok, Twitter, to YouTube show footage of the moment in millions of views. But again, we have to ask, can the number of viewers be used as an indicator of the truth? Or is it precisely a massive trap to reinforce a narrative that is not necessarily proven? If this moment turns out to be just visual engineering or manipulated public perception, then we are witnessing a vivid example of how the power of the media today can shape a collective reality without concrete facts. It's not just about concerts or entertainment. It is a reflection of how information and perception work in modern society. We do not intend to doubt or underestimate the moment. Instead, we want to invite you all to think more deeply, logically, and rationally. Is this an unconfirmed fact or an emotional narrative deliberately designed to create a global wave of enthusiasm? Remember that the sources of information circulating today are mostly from pieces of video on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, X, to Instagram. There is no official release. There is no exclusive coverage from credible media. So, never stop asking. We're not dealing with absolute truth, but with a visual interpretation that does not yet have a solid factual foundation. So we return it to you, readers and viewers. Do you believe that Chris Martin was actually in person at the Genie concert in Newark? Or are you beginning to see the possibility that this is part of an organized engineering to spark global news? Don't let perception defeat logic. Don't let emotions replace evidence. In the midst of a rapid and often manipulative flow of information, a skeptical and reflective attitude is the last bastion of truth. And if you feel inspired to keep up to date with information like this, with a critical, unbiased, and balanced point of view, don't forget to subscribe and activate our channel notifications. Because only in that way can we stay alert, think clearly, and not get caught up in narratives that are not necessarily real.